Theft of a Shattered One, August 237 years of stumbles, Imperial Records. Stone. Vivek's quill drips ash as Sermon 21 takes form. A moth priest stumbles, ink bleeding from hollowed eyes. Tiber Septim's final gasp fuses with the groan of bones beneath the palace Nirn's bedrock, not Lorkhan's lie. How many more dragon Elder Scroll breaks will crack the devoured mask, bends the reader's spine toward the truth. Vivek's quill drips ash as Sermon 21 takes form. August 237 years of stumbles, Imperial Records. Screams. Beneath Tamriel's soil, a skeleton breathes. Not Lorkhan's cage but another's, stolen and sutured into the world's ribs. The Idra's light and Deidre's shadow do not war here. They bleed into the marrow of a corpse not theirs. What god's name was erased to make Nirn's pulse? The weight of mountains is not stone, but the curvature of a buried deity's spine. The dragon breaks are not fractures in time. They are the shuddering gasps of a stolen heart, too large for its stolen chest. Every earthquake whispers a syllable of the thief's prayer. Every volcano spews ash and a forgotten incantation. The arena is not a stage, it is a sarcophagus, and its occupant is not dormant. It is disremembered asterisk. How long before the bones beneath your feet remember their own name and rise? The earth breathes, the sky fractures. Beneath your feet a skeleton hums with forgotten hymns. Lorkhan's betrayal is the scar, not the wound. The true wound festers deeper, a theft older than the Ada's pact, a theft that birthed the world's ribs and sinews. The Dawn Era's myth Trinimac cleaving Lorkhan's throat at Red Mountain was but the second crime. The first, a god's corpse, hollowed and sewn into the void. Nirn's bones are not Lorkhan's, they are stranger. The Numantia Intercept speaks of a prior god, nameless in all but blood. Its remains were stripped while still warm, their essence kneaded into the world's sinews. The Ada, blind to this theft, bargained with Lorkhan's lies, believing Mundus would be forged from his heart. But the heart was never the foundation. It is a keystone, a splinter in the true architecture. When Auri-El's blade split Lorkhan's chest, his heart fell not into Nirn's core but into the hollow left by the prior god's absence. A patch. A lie over a wound, you feel it in the air, the tang of ozone where the world's veins pulse with obsidian. The Red Mountain's smoke still reeks of more than ash, it reeks of stolen marrow. The Ada's sacrifice was real, but their sacrifice was not the act that shaped Nirn. That honor belongs to the nameless thief who hollowed a god and called it creation. What if the prior god's bones are not dormant? What if they remember the hands that shattered them? The monomyth tells of Lorkhan's deceit, the intercept whispers of a debt unpaid. The world's heartbeat is a dirge, not a promise. And in the silence between tectonic shifts, a question. When the bones beneath your feet remember their own name, will they cradle you or crush you? The tribunal did not create Nirn, they refined it. The Battle of Red Mountain was not Genesis, but surgery. Lorkhan's ribcage torn open, his heart wrenched free to power a machine never meant to be. Divinity is not a feeling, it is a current, a force harnessed by those bold enough to siphon it from the corpse of a god. The heart of Lorkhan is no metaphor, it is a core, a pulsating engine of raw obic energy, stolen and caged within the Red Mountain's molten throat. The Dwemer did not worship it, they reverse-engineered it. Their ruins hum with the same frequency as the tribunal's forges, proof that the divine is not beyond tinkering, only beyond human comprehension. To touch it is to risk dissolution, yes, but CHIM is not a curse, it is a condition. A price paid in ego to operate the machinery of a world built on another's sacrifice. Nirn's body is not land, it is flesh. The towers are not mountains, they are vertebrae still twitching with the ghost of Lorkhan's final breath. Every earthquake is a heartbeat, every volcano a pulse. The tribunal did not betray Lorkhan, they cannibalized him, stitching his stolen vitality into the sinews of a world that would never know its true architect. And what of the heart itself? It does not beat, it burns. A tomb of incandescent bone, its fires sustained not by life but by theft. The Arbus thrives because it is a parasite, Nirn is its host, and Lorkhan is the wound that will never heal. You stand on a grave. You breathe a stolen breath. The world you call home is a corpse made whole by the absence it cannot escape. And when the towers shudder, ask not why the ground trembles. Ask what the dead god's skeleton remembers. The red year did not begin with fire, it began with a fracture. Deep in Nirn's marrow, where the stolen skeleton of the first god lay bound, the theft's wound reopened. Ash fell like snow in Tamriel's highlands, long before the mountain spoke. The Argonians did not march, the asterisk flowed asterisk, scales glistening with the ichor of a world rejecting its poison. Red Mountain's throat ripped open not to spew lava, but to scream. A scream that cracked the sky, that turned the Arbus light to a sickly green, that made every soul in existence feel the weight of a lie buried deeper than stone. The heart had always remembered. For 10,000 years it had whispered in the magma, in the dreams of those who dug too deep. The Argonians listened. They knew the mountain was not a god, it was a asterisk tomb asterisk. And when their blades struck its flanks, when their rituals unseamed the stolen ribs of the dead god, the world asterisk screamed asterisk, not with sound but with silence. The oceans recoiled, the roots of the world tree withered, the moons bled. This was no volcanic rage, this was a skeleton breaking. The Auribis, that fragile veil between myth and void, survived only because mortals kept its story alive. They carved the legends into stone, sang the names of gods who never existed, wove tapestries of battles that were never fought, yet the heart's truth seeped through. In every eruption, in every cracked road, in the way the wind howls through the jagged crown at dusk. What does a world built on a corpse become when the corpse asterisk wakes asterisk? The red year's ash still clings to Nirn's skin. The Argonians' hymns still echo in the magma, and beneath every step the skeleton trembles, not with rage, with grief for what it once was. For what it can never be again. The Aubis does not remember, it reinvents, each war a resurrection, each theft a new myth. The heart's pulse is not life, it is a wound. And wounds do not heal, they hunger. The dead god's bones do not build, they devour. What was stolen cannot be held, only fed. They called it salvation, a cage to bind the void. Instead, they carved a throat for Dagon to scream through. The mythic dawn struck Uriel's heart with a chisel, not a blade. They sought to shackle the heart's hunger, never understanding hunger cannot be caged, only fed, only multiplied. What hubris to think mortal hands could channel a god's rot without becoming its vessel. They shattered the heart's ribs to forge their engines of order. What emerged was not order, was not power, was the void's laugh given teeth. Dagon's legions didn't breach the walls asterisk invited asterisk them. The dawn's architects drowned in their own ambition, their names scraped from stone before their bones hit the ground. Divinity is not a prize, it is a mirror. CHIM demands the self be unmade, but these fools asterisk burned asterisk their egos, thinking ash could build a throne. The heart does not reward, it asterisk reflects asterisk. Their rage, their certainty, their hunger, it turned the air toxic. The sky split not from Dagon's claws, but from the dawn's own screams. You think the world was one? No, it was asterisk consumed asterisk. Every altar they raised became a grave, every spell a hunger pang. The heart does not care for your wars, it asterisk is asterisk the war. You kneel to it, then kneel knowing your prayers are just kindling. The dead god's bones do not hold the world together, they asterisk leech asterisk it, and when the next seeker's Camille ways they cometh cycle will gnaw again, always, always. The world you walk is not a dream, it's a body, and its heart is a dead god's skeleton. The towers bend like ribs around its hollow, adamanttia cracks. White gold bleeds, each stone is a stolen bone, each pillar a parasite. They prop up a corpse, not a home, what holds the sky aloft, not will. Not faith, the corpse's sinews rotting in reverse. The Auribis whispers its own elegy, a myth that outlived its truth, a song that ends by never ending. The stolen god's name was erased first, then their face, then their death. Nirn thrives on a wound, its mountains are grave mounds. Then their rivers face a Nirn dying tree, towers its fall is not an end, grave it is a skeleton unshackled, finally free to crumble. And when the last tower tumbles, the dream will wake, not to dawn, to rigor mortis. The Auribis survives because it is forgotten. Its end was written in the first lie of its birth, a paradox. To live, it must die in stories. To die, it must live in lies. The bones beneath your feet do not nourish, they strangle. A god's corpse is not a foundation. It is a debt, a disease. A debt collectors will come to collect, always, always. You walk a borrowed breath, the hero's dream tempers Nirn's debt, but time decays. You are the dreamer, the collector's weight. the heartbeat of bones counts down. Your choice to act determines what lingers when the dream fractures, and the debt is due. The hero of this age is not a savior, they are a thief in the act. Tamriel breathes not through Lorkhan's cage, but through the ribcage of a god whose name was erased before the first stone was stolen. Every step on this soil is a trespass. The towers, those spires that pierce the Orbis, are not monuments. They are vertebrae pried from the dead god's spine and fused into the world's skeleton. Their shadows stretch like fractures in a tomb. Their fall is not a prophecy, it is an arithmetic of decay. When the last tower crumbles, the bones beneath will sing a requiem in a language older than the Elder Scrolls. The scrolls themselves are not wisdom. They are parasites. To read one is to let its ink seep into your blood, to become a scribe in the ledger of theft. The words do not shift, the reader does. A scholar who deciphers the prophecy of the Dragonborn does not uncover truth. They become a footnote in the dead god's erasure. Every rune etched into the soul of a mortal becomes a splinter in the corpse's ribs. The scrolls are not tools, they are co-conspirators. Nirn is not a world, it is a wound. The ground you walk is the sternum of something that once danced in the void. Its heart is a hollow where 1,000 prayers dissolve into static. The Orbis, the sky's shimmering veil, is not the breath of creation. It is the last gasp of a god suffocated by its own children. The stars are not witnesses. They are splinters of its shattered skull, still burning with the heat of a death that never ended. The hero's choices are not acts of courage. They are transactions. To slay a Daedric prince is to trade one bone for another. To raise a tower is to hammer a nail deeper into the corpse's skull. Every spell cast, every war waged, every treaty signed etches new grooves into the dead god's skeleton. The heart of the world is not a metaphor. It is a cavity where the echoes of every mortal life resonate like a dirge, and the hero. They are the dreamer who cannot wake, trapped in a nightmare where their every wish reshapes the thief's hand. The towers lean, the bones creak. The collectors, those who wear the faces of emperors and beggars, alike account the days until the scaffolding buckles. Divinity is not a throne, it is a debt. And the interest is due. The bones beneath your feet hum with a silence older than time. Ribs of the buried god curve like mountain spines. Its sternum, cracked and crusted with starlight, holds the void where its heart should beat. Who lies there, nameless to all but the Orbis, not Lorkhan. Not the Daedric, a god whose death forged the world's birth. Its marrow seeps through the soil, a poison that nourishes. The scent of decay clings to every blade of grass, every scream of a dying star. Priests dig for relics, but they only find teeth. Teeth that whisper in tongues erased from creation. The Orbis does not remember it, asterisk rehearses asterisk. Myths are its anchors, its lifeblood. Nirn is a lie that keeps the lie alive. A stage set on a corpse where emperors and beggars play their parts. But what happens when the audience stops believing? When the dreamer stirs and the dream begins to unravel? The god's skeleton is not a foundation. It is a wound, and wounds fester. The rivers run black with the god's old blood. Its pulse, if it ever had one, is the tremor beneath every earthquake. The land breathes in ash, the sky exhales ash. And still mortals build their cities, their temples, their hollow hearts. They carve prayers into the bones, not knowing the god is already dead, twice dead. Once to the Orbis, once to the dream. What wakes when the dreamer wakes? A god, a void, a reckoning that even the Daedra cannot name. The world was not born of betrayal, it was born of theft, a theft the thief may yet reclaim, and if the dream ends, what remains? Not Nirn. Not the Orbis, only the question, who is the true god buried beneath the world's soil? And if the world is a dream, what happens when the dreamer wakes and decides the dream is no longer worth sustaining? Who lies entombed beneath Nirn's soil? The Orbis war isn't against Lorkhan's heart, it's a siege on a forgotten titan's bones. Was it Aldrune, Meridia? Or a name erased by time's thief, the world's foundation blades? What wakes when the buried god's dust stirs? Next, the Orbis war